And we're back. I hope you guys all had a great, exciting, and safe Halloween weekend. It was a great time. You guys are much appreciated. Thank you for coming back here to Phillies Daily. So with that, welcome into Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Now, obviously, maybe you weren't paying attention, maybe you were, but the World Series wrapped up Saturday night with the Los Angeles Dodgers winning that back-to-back champions over the Toronto Blue Jays this year in 2025. It was a great series, so if you guys didn't watch it, you really missed out. All series long was very exciting. I know a lot of people, once the Phillies are out, kind of tune out of the MLB playoffs, but it's still fun to watch. It's still exciting, and that World Series proved just that, going all the way to a Game 7, going into extra innings in a Game 7, with the Dodgers coming from behind and winning that overall over the Blue Jays for their second consecutive World Series championship. Now again, it was a great series. Blue Jays, they won Game 1 at home 11-4 over the Dodgers. The Dodgers tied it up 1-1 with a Game 2 5-1 victory. Dodgers actually ended up winning Game 3 as well, 6-5. That was the game that went 18 innings, and Freddie Freeman hit that walk-off home run that probably most of you or all of you heard about or saw or watched, whatever it may be. So the Dodgers took that 2-1 series lead, going back to LA for games 3, or for games, I guess they were back home. For games 3, 4, and 5, they were back in LA. The Blue Jays then tied it up 2-2 with a 6-2 victory in Game 4, and then they won Game 5 as well, 6-1 to take a 3-2 series lead. Now that series was going, Blue Jays had momentum going back home to Toronto for Game 6, trying to wrap it up, if not Game 7 as well in Toronto. The Dodgers, with their backs up against the wall, won Game 6 in Toronto, tied the series 3-3 with a 3-1 victory. And then Game 7 was Saturday night in Toronto. Win or go home. World Series on the line. The Dodgers came from behind to win Game 7 5-4 in extra innings over the Blue Jays. And again, back-to-back World Series champions. The first time a team has gone back-to-back since 1998 to 2000. That was the New York Yankees. They actually won 3 World Series in a row. Dodgers just 2 in a row here in 2024 and 2025, but still very incredible by them. We all know, obviously, the Dodgers eliminated the Phillies back in the NLDS in those 4 games. The Phillies actually played them really well, which kind of makes this hurt a little bit more. The Dodgers went on to win the World Series because the Phillies obviously had the talent and the team to do it all this year in 2025. Now, moving on a little bit from that to still not necessarily the Phillies, but it still has to do with the Phillies. A few days ago, you may have seen the Washington Nationals, Phillies National League East rivals. They hired their new manager, and they hired Blake Butera as their new manager, the Washington Nationals, heading into the 2026 season. Butera, very interestingly to note, he is just 33 years old. He is the youngest manager hired since 1972 in Major League Baseball. He was drafted actually by the Tampa Bay Rays as a player back in the 35th round in the 2015 MLB draft out of Boston College. Obviously, the career never really worked out for Blake Butera as a player. He played parts of just 2 seasons in the Rays system, farm system, minor league system as an infielder, and that was about it. Then he got into coaching and player development and all that fun stuff, worked his way up, and now he is with the Washington Nationals as their new manager heading into the 2026 season. The Nationals, not a good year for them this past year in 2025. They were 66-96 this past year, last place in the National League East. They fired their old manager, Dave Martinez, back in July, mid-season. They also parted ways with their general manager as well. But their interim manager that took over for Dave Martinez mid-season back in July when he was fired, Miguel Cairo, they both parted ways, the Nationals and Cairo, after the 2025 season, after the Nationals finished last place. And that is why Blake Butera is the new manager of the Washington Nationals. The Nationals are a very, very young team players-wise, and now they're going to be managed and coached by a very, very young guy, just 33 years old, Butera, the youngest manager hired since 1972. That takes us into the youth movement of the Washington Nationals. Again, they were, I believe, the youngest or the second youngest team in Major League Baseball this past season in 2025. Obviously, that is going to continue heading into 2026. A still very young team, now with a very young manager, 33 years old. Of everybody on the Washington Nationals, Blake Butera is 33. The oldest player on the Nationals was Josh Bell, the first baseman designated hitter. He is a veteran. He is 33, but he's also a free agent, so he's not guaranteed to be back with the Nationals. So that would mean every single player on the roster right now for the Nationals is younger than their manager, which obviously makes sense, but he is right there around their age as well, 33 years old. That just shows how young the Nationals are, because 33 is not old at all. That is, guys, Bryce Harper just turned 33, and he's got probably another 7 years of playing Major League Baseball in him until he's 40. So the Nationals are a kind of a weird case because they're young. That just shows that a young manager, 33, young team, nobody's older than them. Just a lot of youth there in DC, in the NL East, Phillies rival. Now, on the Phillies side of things, guys that are actually older than Blake Butera, the Nationals' new manager, Tanner Banks, he is 34 years old, the reliever for the Phillies. They got a couple of guys that are 33, Matt Strahm, Taijuan Walker, Bryce Harper just turned 33, Nick Castellanos, he's also 33 years old, but he's likely not going to be back with the Phillies in 2026. Lots of reports saying he's either traded or released this offseason. JT Realmuto, if he's re-signed, he's a free agent. He is 34 years old. He will be 35 years old to start next season. So he's older than Blake Butera, the new Nationals manager. And then there's a handful of other players on the Phillies roster that are in that 30 to 32 range. So a lot different from the Nationals roster, where pretty much everybody is younger. Actually, everybody is younger than their new manager, Blake Butera. And nobody's the same age. Nobody's older than him other than Josh Bell, who is a free agent right now, or about to be a free agent. But the Phillies have guys older, have guys the same age, and have guys pretty much the same age as the Nationals' new manager. It's just crazy to think about. Just a lot of youth there in DC and in the National League East, the Phillies rival there. So that's some divisional update. We'll get into a little bit of Phillies talk here. Obviously, not a lot of Phillies talk today in this video, but we've been talking a lot of Phillies. We're going to continue talking a lot of Phillies. It's important to talk about what's going on in their division that can directly impact them. So the Nationals, the World Series, everything's happening. Just some stuff around the league to talk about. But going back with the Phillies, a lot of rumors going around in Philadelphia with the Phillies. Obviously a very good team, set to be a very good team as well in 2026. A lot of guys returning, a lot of veteran players still returning, no matter what happens with Kyle Schwarber, free agency, JT Realmuto, Ranger Suarez, a couple of other guys as well. But also trade rumors. We've seen Alec Boehm's name in trade rumors, Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, some of the younger guys, but that also have been around and not really taking that next steps that we all thought they could have by now. Phillies need a shakeup. We're already bringing back Rob Thompson as the manager in 2026, even though a lot of people thought it may be time to move on from him after those 2 straight NLDS exits, after 2 horrific regular seasons, having a championship caliber team and not be able to get past that early round of the playoffs. Thought it may be time to move on to him. He'll be back. So you can't bring back everybody and expect different results, especially with these guys getting older. I've been harping on that throughout this early parts of the offseason, saying maybe they should let Kyle Schwarber walk, save that money, put that somewhere else to a younger guy, to a guy in a position of need, like in the outfield or something like that, as well as JT Realmuto. Now, there's not really many options out there other than JT Realmuto. They may be forced to have to overpay to keep him around for another year, 2, 3 years at most, which is still not an ideal situation, but it may have to happen with them not really having anything in the organization, or just not many options available in free agency, unless they are to trade somebody. Like I mentioned, Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles could be an option in last video on Friday. If you didn't check that out, make sure to go check that out here on Phillies Daily on the channel. But regardless, this team needs a little bit of shake-up, some fresh faces, some new juice to the roster, to the lineup, to the staff, pitching staff, bullpen, everything. Alec Boehm could be a guy moved to bring a fresh face, to bring in maybe some prospects or a major league caliber player or a major league player. Alec Boehm has been the subject of trade rumors around the Phillies going back to last offseason, into even the trade deadline this past season, and now obviously again early in the offseason here as well. Now the Athletic's Matt Gelb, very respected source, he's a Phillies beat writer for them. He was discussing a potential Alec Boehm trade and what that may look like. He said, quote, about an Alec Boehm trade this offseason: if the Phillies couldn't find the right return for Boehm after a career 2024 season in which he was an all-star game starter, he was in that home run derby if you remember, but he went on to say it's difficult to expect he'd net a talented young player after a so-so 2025 season. Now we all know, if you're watching the Phillies all 2025, Alec Boehm coming off those trade rumors, coming off that poor end to 2024 season and in the playoffs that year as well against the Mets, got off to a very bad start. at the plate. He did turn things on, and he did look a lot more like the Alec Bohm we all know throughout the rest of this season, but still not his best year, especially compared to 2024 and everybody thinking he could build off of that All-Star selection year and just really get into that elite category of third baseman that a lot of people thought he could. Did not happen in 2025. He did show promise again, but he's another guy that's only going to keep getting older and really hasn't reached that potential that everybody thought he could by now. So they tried to trade him away. Again, last offseason, they weren't getting the offers they thought that they could have for a guy like Alec Bohm. If you remember, the Seattle Mariners were a team that were heavily linked to Alec Bohm throughout the offseason. Just nothing happened there. They couldn't get that asking price they were looking for Alec Bohm. Again, Matt Gelb said it. They couldn't find that last year after his great year. Now, didn't have a necessarily as good of a year in 2025. He's getting older. He also has just one more year of club control compared to when he had 2 years at this time last year. So the high price that the Phillies had on him is only going to get lower now with that one more year of club control, because then he could just leave in free agency. Teams can easily sign him away from the Phillies if they so choose and wait out one more year. So that could impact the return in a possible Alec Bohm trade, as well as his not so great 2025 season at the plate. Not likely to receive a high-end prospect in return, as Matt Gelb said. He also went on to say, while discussing an Alec Bohm trade, that is Matt Gelb, quote, "The Phillies have better odds of swapping Bohm for a player with similar service time and salary, which is projected by MLB trade rumors for $10.3 million this year, who is a better roster fit than Alec Bohm at this point." Again, it's going to be tough to trade Alec Bohm. He may just have to be here for another year and see what happens potentially going into his free agency. But the Phillies do have options. They have Trey Turner obviously locked in at shortstop for a long time. They got Bryson Stott and Mundo Sosa as other infielders. Bryce Harper over at first base. Otto Kemp showed promise. He plays third base and can play third base. They have Adam Miller, one of their top prospects, coming up. He was promoted to AAA at the end of this past season. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of potential. He's an infielder, so they got to figure out how this infield's going to look. Alec Bohm obviously is a logical guy to move on from if you can, but again, might not get you the players or player that you would like in return. So it might be just smarter to keep him around, but still, in my opinion, if you can get some quality player for him to just change some energy, get some new faces in here into the lineup, then I think that should be just a deal that should be made. But that's going to be a lot more to talk about this offseason. A lot of rumors, a lot of things going on. Hope you guys enjoy this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Kennelly. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Again, a lot of stuff going on surrounding the Phillies, especially now that the playoffs are over, the World Series is over, the Dodgers are champions. It's only going to be so many rumors around Major League Baseball from here on out as we get close to the winter meetings, free agency, trade rumors, everything. So stay tuned with us here on Phillies Daily. I'll be bringing all the rumors, all the breaking news, all the thoughts, all the analysts, everything. It's going to be a great analysis. It's going to be great. So stay tuned with us. Thank you guys again for watching. And as always, go Phils.